You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. OpenAI just built a free tool for clinicians. In today's episode, I'm going to talk with you about what it does and what it means for your private practice. And this is super cool because it was only just released overnight while we were sleeping over here in Australia. So very, very exciting. Welcome back to the show. Okay, so yes, OpenAI just launched overnight ChatGPT for clinicians. It's a free product that's built specifically for all of us, psychologists, counselors, social workers, and other health professionals, of course. And it includes reusable workflow skills as well as access to peer-reviewed clinical searches, and it's got HIPAA support. So if you're in Australia, you don't need to worry about HIPAA support because it's American, right? But I still think that it's good for us to be aware of it because I think it's always helpful to have those standards to be guided by. But in this episode, I'm going to walk you through what it does, what the reusable workflows features could mean for your day-to-day admin in your private practice, and of course, talk you through some of the cautions that we all need to understand before we get too excited about the HIPAA compliance angle. I also am going to talk with you about what the launch is telling us about where the AI tools for clinicians are heading and what you can set up in your existing ChatGPT account for now. Okay, so welcome back to the Practice Momentum podcast. If you're new here, hi, I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and today we're going to be talking about something that I think is so exciting, but we're going to have a careful conversation rather than the usual AI is amazing stuff that I tend to go on about. This is serious. Okay, so if you don't know who OpenAI is, they're just the company behind ChatGPT, right? But they launched this new product overnight while we were all asleep in Australia called ChatGPT for clinicians. It has been specifically created for healthcare professionals and it's free for verified clinicians. At the moment, it's available in the United States. And yes, it explicitly names psychologists and registered clinicians, right? So if you're a practitioner, counselor, social worker, mental health social worker, play therapist, and you're registered, yes, you will be able to use it, okay? So when something like this, though, happens, there can sometimes be a couple of responses to it that we just need to be a little bit mindful of, right? The first is like the breathless enthusiasm that I'm sometimes known for, which is like, oh, this is so amazing, let's all sign up to it now. Or the opposite happens where people say, oh, it's only available in America, so therefore, it's not relevant to us, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I want to give you something more useful than either of those things and just tell you exactly what it does because it will be rolled out to other countries shortly. So it's good that you've got the heads up, right? And I want to talk you through the aspects of it that are important for you, regardless of where you live, and what you genuinely need to be mindful of before you start using it. Because here's the thing, right? Even if the free version isn't available to Australian practitioners just yet, what OpenAI has just released tells us a lot about the direction these tools are heading. So do you remember when I was speaking to you in previous episode and I was saying ChatGPT is getting rid of a whole lot of stuff, right? And it did. It got rid of Sora, which was my very favorite image generation software. It closed it down, even though it had big partnerships, billion-dollar partnerships in place with, the UK and also with Disney and stuff like that. But it stripped right back to basics, and it's building itself out to be more of a business tool, right? So it's moving away from, I guess, how we've been using it for the last little while, last couple of years. Everybody, has just been using it for conversations and get information and stuff like this. But now it's like we need to distinguish ourselves from Claude, right, which is my favorite tool. I lost the love for ChatGPT after I found Claude. But anyway, so Chat's like, well, we've got stiff competition here. We need to actually niche. And so it's niching into business. And anyway, you can see where this is all going. So the ChatGPT for clinicians, it's not something that's living inside your existing ChatGPT account, right? It's separate software with a separate link. It's a version of ChatGPT that was created because OpenAI had the idea and the awareness that clinicians have different needs from the average ChatGPT user, right? They need different information, they need higher level information, they're dealing with sensitive professional contexts, and they often have other things like repetitive documentation tasks that, of course, consume time, which, if you're neurodivergent like me, that is a pain in the you-know-what. So it's, as I said, it's separate. It lives outside your normal ChatGPT environment, okay? So there are three main things that the new product includes. The first one is you get access to GPT 5.4, which is OpenAI's most capable model, at higher usage limits than you would normally get on your standard free account. So when you're using ChatGPT free at the moment, you have usage limits. And if you've ever hit them or you've ever approached hitting them, which I know many of you have, and I certainly did too, and it used to drive me bananas, as you sort of approach the end of your window, your tokens, you're running low on tokens. Tokens is like calories, it's the energy language of computers. You're running low on your tokens. The AI will start slowing down. It's going to forget things you've told it a million times. It's going to be like, who are you again? And it's going to sound like you're talking to me. Like it's just going to go off on some tangent and you're going to have a hard time bringing it back, right? It's called hallucination. It's going to hallucinate for you a little bit, all those kinds of things. And it times out quickly, depending on how quickly you're moving through your tokens, which is why things like making sure that you're writing very specific questions. This is why we have such a big focus on prompt engineering over in my community, the Therapist AI Resource Hub. I teach you how to prompt properly so that you can have extended time with ChatGPT on a free account. So anyway, it's really important to know that over here on the health version of ChatGPT, you have higher usage limits, right? Because it means that you're not going to run out so quickly, okay? The more complex the question is, or the longer the document might be that you're working on, it just means you can work with it longer and potentially get better output, again, depending on how you're prompting. It means things like your clinical correspondence, any complex case summaries, any research questions. They're not just simple tasks anymore. Well, they never were, but they're not. ChatGPT regular handles them a certain way, but the Health GPT does it with more backing, right? So you can be more confident in the output. It's kind of like Perplexity in a way like that. And anyway, it's a more capable model, which is going to handle those kinds of tasks and questions a lot better. The second important feature of the product is that it has a trusted clinical search layer, which is so important. So this just means that whenever you go and ask a clinical question about a modality, about a presentation, about symptoms, about, an assessment, something like that, then ChatGPT for clinicians will actually retrieve answers for you that it takes from peer-reviewed medical and research sources in order to give you an answer. Now, this is really important because, again, you've heard me say this before. I think so many people, without understanding how to use AI, mess it up without realizing. And this happened to me in the beginning as well. So you remember over Christmas I was formalizing the structure around, it's the very first private practice business coaching framework for women who are counselors, psychologists, and social workers. It's the very first one of its kind ever. And of course, when I was pulling it together, I needed to research it and make sure that it had an evidence base beneath it. And I was working with ChatGPT at the time, and I was using the ChatGPT to help me research. Now, when I went and cross-referenced everything, because, this is one of the other things you should always do. If you've got an important document that you're putting together and you're using AI, when you finished putting that document together, upload the document in a different AI and get it to double check everything for you. You will be amazed at the mistakes. And that's what I did. And it turned out that ChatGPT just invented a lot of my data, even though I'd prompted really well. It had just invented a lot of stuff. It had invented, references. It just didn't exist. It just made them all up. And, this is when I really started leaning into Claude a lot more. And I had to go back and fix everything up. The other thing too is that before I knew how to use AI properly myself, I just used to trust the output. For some reason, I thought artificial intelligence was better than me and more trustworthy or more reliable. And I just used to take the output and think, yeah, this is totally fine. But actually, if you say to ChatGPT, for example, oh, can you just double check this for me? It will usually come back and say, oh, good catch, yeah, I made it up, or oh, good catch, yeah, I got it wrong. So it's really annoying. And if you don't know to ask and check, then you could be putting information out there in your private practice, in your marketing, your emails, your website, your social media, that's false, inaccurate, wrong, not helpful to clients or third-party stakeholders or, whatever. So this version of, ChatGPT for clinicians, healthcare professionals, solves that problem. Very, very important, right? So it just means that when you're doing that kind of deeper work, that more sort of important work, you can be more confident that it's only drawing from peer-reviewed sources. It means that the information that you'll be getting won't be outdated, won't be vague, and it just won't be made up or incorrect. So this is really important, especially if you're looking up, now this isn't going to be for us, but if you are working with supplements, medications, vitamins, like all those kinds of things, for example, or you're wanting to look at evidence-based, treatment approaches, or you're wanting to check clinical guidelines before using something with one of your clients, having citations that are legitimate and verifiable attached to the responses that you get from the AI makes the output that you're getting far more usable and, of course, safer. Makes sense, right? Okay. And then the third feature that I want to speak into, and this is the one that I want to spend like the most time on, is reusable workflow skills. So, when you're using AI, there are different functions and features, right? And maybe if you are using it, you've noticed that you have access to something called skills, right? So a skill is instructions, if you like, for how you want something to be done. So it's something that you do over and over again. But when you create a skill with your AI, you can call upon that skill when you're using the AI to save you a lot of time. So for example, like a very simple one that you should all have really is a branding skill. So that branding skill will include all the information about your branding. And then when you want to go and make something, you just type into ChatGPT or, your Claude, whatever you're using, that you want it to reference and use that branding skill of yours. And then you don't have to repeat all of that information, like your fonts and your colors and things like that, how you want things set out and laid out. It's all in there, right? So we've got skills. Part of the workflows is it's going to be using some skills for you. This is a feature that absolutely makes me sit up and pay attention. It's not a new thing to have the skills, but the way that it's being packaged up by OpenAI at the moment, specifically for clinical use, is so interesting, and it's just going to be so good, right? So ChatGPT for Clinicians is going to let you train the tools to follow your specific processes once and then repeat them for you reliably whenever you need to call upon them again, okay? So what does it actually look like in private practice? Let me sort of break it down for you now. So imagine that you write, I don't know, let's say referral letters, and let's say that you write a bunch of them and you've got a structure that you really like. Maybe, it's the referral reason that comes first, and then maybe there's a brief clinical summary. Then you've got like a specific request, and then maybe your contact details, your title, your practice name, maybe your registration, qualifications, anything like that, right? But every single referral letter you write tends to follow that structure, and it's really only the content within it that changes, yeah? So right now, if you're using just regular ChatGPT to help you draft those referral letters, you're probably copying and pasting a prompt every single time to help you with it. Or maybe you've saved something in, I don't know, the Notes app, right? Or maybe you start from scratch and you just, like, every time you go into the chat, you're re-explaining and you're, writing down your instructions again for the format and the output that you want every single time, which means sometimes it follows it and sometimes it doesn't, and you've got to go back and forward getting it to fix things for you, right? You're getting inconsistencies with the output and you're losing time on editing and refinement, right? So the reusable workflow skills fix that for you. So how it works is you just define your workflow once. You're just going to tell ChatGPT for Clinicians, hey, when I, trigger the referral letter workflow, you will always follow this structure, use this level of, formality, professionalism, etc., use this tone, use this personality, use this style, include these fields, and then you're just going to save it. And then from that point forward, every time you want to trigger that workflow, ChatGPT is just going to follow it exactly for you without you needing to re-explain it. And you're not going to get inconsistency with your output anymore, right? You're going to get exactly what you want the first time. And you can build this for anything that follows a repeatable structure, which is what skills are, right? You can use skills for everything that you do in your business. You can use skills for your social media, for your emails, for your blogs, for your admin, for your systems, for your planning, all those kinds of things. Anything that's repeatable, you can create a skill for, right? You might also create skills around progress note summaries or initial assessment letters, appointment letters, handouts for your clients, discharge summaries, email responses to common questions from, referrers and things like that. But basically, the more repetitive your documentation task is, the more useful this is going to become for you, right? So here's a question that you're probably already thinking, can I do this in ChatGPT now? I know you're probably driving as you're listening to this and you're wanting to pull over and check if you've got it. And the answer is, as I said, it's available if you're in America, but if you're in Australia or somewhere else where it hasn't been rolled out yet, don't panic. I've got a workaround for you. Okay. So if you are on a paid ChatGPT plan, right? I'm just on the $20 one. You can use some custom instructions and the memory function to create something really similar to the ChatGPT for Clinicians packages as workflow skills. And it just requires a little bit more of a manual setup. And, it's not as clearly named. I mean, you can name it whatever you like, but the core capability will be there. And I'll walk you through how to approach that later in the episodes so that you can set it up for yourself and have a play around. The other thing worth knowing is how to think about what kinds of task workflows are going to be suitable for it, right? So the best ones usually are tasks that have a very consistent structure for you, but the content is variable, like, the referral letters, right? Just think you got a template and the content that you put into it changes each time. That's what I'm talking about. So structure stays the same, the format, the sections, the tone, but what goes into those sections changes. That's all I'm saying. So this is where the workflows do their job for you, and they're just going to save you so much time. Okay. It's not going to work for, I guess, things that you just do like once off and things like that. But anyway, okay. So they're the three useful things that I wanted to talk with you about in terms of this new ChatGPT for clinicians. And of course, I do have a caution around HIPAA, Australian privacy principles, and what the word compliant means in this context, just so we can all be on the same page, make sure we're doing everything ethically and safely, all the things. So ChatGPT for clinicians does offer HIPAA support. Now, this is very, very important because apart from ChatGPT, it's very difficult to get HIPAA compliance anywhere. Up until this release here, you couldn't get it with ChatGPT unless you were on like the highest plan, and then you had to like speak to their sales team and get it customized. Same with Claude, like nothing is safe. Specifically, OpenAI offers a business associate agreement now. Well, not now, but I mean, they didn't have one before. You can't get one on the free version. But under this ChatGPT for clinicians, one is available, but you must be a verified practitioner, okay? A BAA is, just in case you didn't know, it's a legal contract that says that OpenAI will handle your data in ways that are compliant with HIPAA, which is the United States Health Privacy Law, in case you were wondering. That's all. But I think if you're in Australia, you still do use the BAA, of course, because we want to make sure that all of your information is also being handled really well. But I've already seen people in Australian therapy groups get excited about things being HIPAA compliant, and therefore I can just go and throw all my client information in it. And I just want to also speak to that too, because as I said, HIPAA is for American law only. So it applies to healthcare providers that are in the US, right? It doesn't govern Australian practitioners because we are bound by things like the Australian Privacy Act, for example, and the APP's Australian Privacy Principles. Plus, if you're in a state in Australia that has additional health privacy legislation, you're bound by that as well. So a HIPAA BAA from OpenAI isn't going to give you full protection and full coverage, but I still think get it because it's better than nothing, okay? It's not going to meet all of your requirements under Australian law, so you do need to be aware of that, okay? So I guess in practical terms, we can't just look at HIPAA and go, it's HIPAA compliant, therefore we're going to be fine. It's basically what I'm saying. My position, as you know, is always, if you are going to upload something into AI and you don't think you could defend it in court, don't upload it. I mean, AI is changing all the time, right? And accidents happen. Even somebody who is very knowledgeable, educated in AI, aware, trying to do all of the right things with the ethics and stuff like that. People make mistakes. We're humans, right? We make mistakes. And I think it's just important to acknowledge there's a good chance you'll make one. And I think it's important to have a remedy for what's going to happen if you do make one, right? So that's why checking with your peak body for their AI policies before you start using it for work in your private practice, probably a good idea. I would say probably don't use it for clinical things until in Australia we've got sort of, I guess, more clear frameworks, and not just frameworks on don't do this, don't do that, but I want to see some frameworks on, well, what should counsellors, psychologists and social workers do in the event that they make an error, right? And something happens. But anyway, if you're pretty confident and you think that you can use it without making errors, then of course, de-identify everything, right? That's of course an obvious thing, but de-identify everything and make sure that if you're taking a transcript from Heidi Health or Novo Note or patient notes or whatever your AI you're using to record your sessions, if you're going to take that and you're going to run it through AI, of course, change the file name as well. There's no point that changing all of the text if the client's name is still in the file name, right? So it matters. Things like that, very important, okay? All right, so where AI for clinicians is heading is very, very exciting. I think there's a very important takeaway from this new launch, and the fact that OpenAI built something very specific for us, that they named it explicitly as well to include psychologists and social workers and counselors and stuff like that. I think it shows that they're probably going to be moving into health space. It's a very big industry. Like if you get in the shoes of AI, right, of ChatGPT specifically, health, wealth and relationships, they're billion-dollar industries. So I think it's choosing health for a very smart reason. It's going to be able to use this feature with hospitals, with large health organizations. We're talking about it here for solo private practice and, little group private practices and everything. But from a ChatGPT perspective, this is a business move. You can see why. I think it's very important for your own professional development. I think if you're still nervous about using AI, if you're still maybe not nervous, but maybe you're pushing back and you're like, I'm not going to have it, I'm not going to use it and things like that. I would say to you, the fence is getting harder to sit on, guys. It is getting harder to sit on. It's creeping its way into private practice, and it's in Canva, it's in your practice management software now, it's in your email software now. It's creeping in, whether you want to admit it or whether you like it or not. So I think the smart thing to do is you're at the start of it now. Learn what you can, get on top of it, because I guess the longer you resist, the harder it's going to get for you to be able to manage, right? And that could be super duper overwhelming, which we don't want. But these tools are all being built right now for you, okay? It's very, very exciting times. And I think that we will start to see, now this has happened, I expect, my prediction is that, people like to copy things, right? Or react to them. So I think this has come out overnight, and how long do you give it before there's a similar model that says, well, we're Australia specific and we do meet this and this, right? It's not going to take long. Somebody's going to see this and they're going to go, oh, we can do it better because we will make it for Australians. It's going to happen. Or there might be, localized versions of existing tools that have built-in Australian privacy compliance frameworks and things like that. And I reckon you probably see that within the next 12 to 18 months. I know, if not sooner. But the launch overnight of ChatGPT for clinicians is, I keep saying it, I know, but we're really on the leading edge of this big wave. This is historical and we all get to be part of it. And I think for that reason, it's also worthwhile understanding how AI works, so that when new versions come out, when new products come out, they land in your inbox and somebody's saying, oh, come and use this in your private practice. I think it's very important you understand what things are, how they work, etc., so you can make smart decisions, okay? The people who are going to get the most value from them, though, like anything, are the ones who are already building the habit of knowing how to work the right way with AI, even in tasks and projects and work that has, lower risk, like let's say writing captions for your Instagram and stuff like that, like content creation or doing your marketing or, just your general admin things, and who understand the principles of course, good prompting. You must understand how to prompt well, because as I said, it saves energy, you get more usage, you get better output, all of the things, how workflows function, and of course what the appropriate use cases for us are as women in private practice. Okay, we don't want your first experience with clinical AI to be the first time you've ever used AI, right? It's not the position we want you to be in. Okay, and it's important that you have an awareness, an insight, some understanding of what AI looks like, so that if something smells off, you can get out of it quick, smart, and go and check, right? My recommendation to you, if you haven't started doing it, is go beyond having conversations in ChatGPT and start building your AI awareness now, while you can do it in a very, very safe way. Maybe don't do it in a clinical context. I would say if you're knowledgeable and you have a good grasp of what AI is, how it works, how to prompt, how to create the skills, how to understand what tasks are, all those kinds of things, then yes, if you want to use it for clinical things, absolutely go for it. But there's a lot of people that think they know about AI because they're using chatty, oh, help me brainstorm an idea for my blog. Oh, now write the blog, and then copy and paste it onto their website. And like, oh, I use ChatGPT for my website. No, you're not using it the right way. You're going to be at risk. And so I think it's better that you have some kind of understanding about how it all works. If you want to know, of course, you can head over to my community on School. The link's in the show notes. It's just called the Therapist AI Resource Hub, but you can learn all about it there. So I guess where I land on this is I think ChatGPT for clinicians is a very meaningful signal, and I really love that it's introduced for us reusable workflows for clinicians. This idea is so helpful for private practice. I love that it's available in the States, because it means that it'll roll out to us soon. Just remember, HIPAA compliance doesn't mean Australian compliant. It's a big step, but it's not, sorry, my alarm's going off. It's a big step, but it's not the full step for us. So make sure that you're just mindful of that before you go using it. And yeah, if you want any practical next steps, I think one thing to try is take one document type that you write regularly. So let's say maybe it's a discharge summary. Let's say if you're a psychologist and you're doing discharge summaries after the clients finish their 6 or their 10 sessions, and you're sending that letter back to the doctor, right? You've probably got a structure or format around that, for example, or maybe it's a progress note format or something like that. Maybe it's a way that you generally respond to inquiries from clients that come into your inbox. Write out the structure you want really clearly, and then just set it up as a custom instruction inside your existing ChatGPT account, and just test it there a few times with mock content. So the easiest way to do that would be ask ChatGPT to create some mock content for you so that you can test it, of course, see how it goes, and see if the output that you get using the mock content with your instructions to generate this output is what you want. Make sure that it's consistent, and if you've done that, hey presto, you've just made your very first workflow. I know, it's so much fun. You're going to love it. If you want more support with this, including a whole module on setting up your AI for private practice and things like that, and my playbook and stuff, you can get it in the show notes. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that also this podcast episode was created using workflows that I built, right? So my little workflow, let me see if I can bring it up and just kind of talk you through it. So my little workflow that I've got set up, so I use Claude for everything. I love it, but it reads my skills, it reads my files, it researches what's happening in the world of AI at the moment. It brings me like the best research that's got all research behind it, of course. And then it goes along and it creates a few files for me. It pulls together a research report for me. It creates a recommended script and outline for my podcast. It writes my show notes for me. It creates a Facebook post for me. It does like all the things. And I woke up to this morning. It ran overnight for me. I woke up to it this morning. And, for me to go and do all of that would have taken hours and hours and hours. So that's just an example of how I use workflows to automate and get back some of my time in my private practice. What we've spoken about today is a little bit different, but I just wanted to show you like a workflow is a workflow is a workflow. I've got gazillions of them and I love them. But anyway, if you've got any questions, hit me up, like ask away, no problem. That is all I wanted to share with you about this thing. The life update, though, I will just briefly touch on next. So if you're not interested in that, thank you so much for listening. Goodbye. I'll see you on Saturday. For those of you who are still here, I went away to Dalesford on last week. I was there for 10 days. It was so good. I stayed in a little place in Humphrey Street and it was called 1,000 Pines, and it was so full of history, and it had a beautiful clawfoot bath, and it had like these beautiful beds, and oh my gosh, it was just luxury everywhere. I had really nice towels. Like, I didn't appreciate a towel until I stayed at 1,000 Pines, but these towels were like so plush. And anyway, I was in heaven, let's just say. And it even had the plank of wood across the top of the bath where it's got the cutout so that you can put your wine glass in there, and it had like another little cutout where it had a little crystal tea light candle holder. It was so special. I was just in there reading my books, doing Sudoku. Like, it was heaven. I loved it. And it had fairy lights in the trees outside in the little courtyard. It was so lovely. And the host was amazing. But anyway, I was there, and it was a very different experience to in the past. So in the past, when I went away, I was totally vibey. I was driving, wind in my hair, cranking up the radio, loving it. This time it was very different. It was very kind of low key. I was trying to cultivate the feeling of the freedom and the this and the that, but for some reason it wasn't coming. And it was because, I know now, it was because I'd put in an offer on the house. The offer had been approved, and I was still kind of, I guess, not celebrating because things hadn't been finalised. And so, on the Monday, we were going back and forward with, something to do with the contract. And then on the Wednesday, I had to put in, I got a call back from the bank about the finance, and then there was an issue with that because stamp duty and stuff, because the furniture, I think I told you, like, I managed to, I was so lucky, but I love the furniture in this place. It had been staged so well. And anyway, so there was furniture, and so there was back and forward about, do we have stamp duty on the furniture? Do we not? Is it included in the contract? Is it not? So we had to do all of that. And then on the third day, which I think was the Wednesday, the finance was approved, which was so exciting. And then on Thursday, I was just so tired. I think it was just all the energy of it. Like, houses is, buying and selling and moving house. It's like right up there in the top 10 of stressful life events, right? And then there was all this other stuff going on around it as well. So I think, Thursday and Friday, my body was just like, it was just like releasing. So it was a relaxing, very sort of low key time away. And I'm back and just catching up on things. And the other thing that I want to share with you too is a little while ago, do you remember at the end of March, I made a workflow to help me with lead generation and my social media and things like that. And I talked you through how I built out this workflow, and I got my content together, and I scheduled my content. And I think I said to you, like, it took me like 20 minutes, half an hour tops to create the workflow. Then it took me a half day, about 4 hours to, create the posts and schedule them and stuff like that. And then I was good for April, and I didn't have to post anything again. So we're at the end of April now. It's the 29th. So I don't think I've got any more. I have to check. I don't think I've got anything more scheduled. But what I'm going to do today or tomorrow is go and analyze everything from April in terms of my content, so that I can see how well this little workflow of mine actually did, and what I need to tweak and change and things like that. But I think it could be a game changer. And there's something else that I'm working on at the moment as well. In the other community that I've got, the free community called the Ultimate Private Practice Community on Facebook, in there, I think it was last week or the week before, I offered to check people's websites and give them like one thing that they could change or do or refine that would have the biggest impact on their, inquiries, referrals, bookings, all the things. And anyway, what was I going to say? I've just forgotten. Based on that, I did something. Based on that, I've gone and made a tool that will let people like us, counsellors, psychologists and social workers, be able to see at like the push of a button what's going on with their website and what they need to do. So they've got that clarity, and I'm really, 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 really excited to share it. I'm just putting the final touches on that right now. And I know, keep your eyes out. I will send an email around about it. I will probably give it away free in exchange for some reviews initially, and then I will do it as a paid thing. Maybe have a subscription tier on it. I'm not sure what sort of business model I'm going to use for it, but super excited. So keep your eyes open. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being part of my world. If you want help with anything with your private practice or AI, of course, you can join either of those communities, or if you're ready for actual help with me, like one-to-one, you're looking at some business consulting, mentoring, coaching, please feel free to go ahead and book yourself a business needs assessment. On that call, I will, ask you a set of questions so that I can, do a mini assessment really of what's going on with the business, where the gaps might be, where the holes might be, what the plugs could look like, and then give you some feedback so you at least know, what to do or not, what your options are, and you can make an informed decision about your next steps from there. All right, my lovelies, thank you so much for being part of my world. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.